is YFM.
Now we move on straight to my guest this morning. The Wiley the Boss series is super blessed to, celebrate the life of a man whose voice on radio became synonymous with excellence and creativity on the airwaves, earning him the accolade, the Magnificent Emperor. Now, in a career as a disc jockey and a radio presenter spanning 6 decades, he hosted programs for the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, and for the BBC World Service in London. Born in Sekondi, Takoradi, the fifth of 9 siblings, he was inspired by his civil servant father's passion for radio to join the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, GBC, in 1961. Now, in 1965, he went to Britain, where he worked with the BBC Africa Service, hosting the program Music with African Beats for 4 good years. He returned home to work with the GBC, wanting to contribute to the development of Ghana, and of course to raise his children as well. On his return to GBC, he produced and presented the longest running TV chat show on the airwaves, and is also credited with the introduction of live radio call-in programs. He was the master of ceremonies for the historic concert in Ghana, Soul to Soul, which took place in the Black Star Square in 1971, and showcased many prominent African-American artists alongside Ghanaian musicians as well. He was awarded the Grand Medal in acknowledgement of his meritorious service in the media. He launched his memoir, The Emperor's Story, from the center of the world at the age of 83 in Accra in August 2019 at the University of Ghana's Institute of African Studies. Help me welcome the original king of primetime radio and television in Ghana, the Magnificent Emperor, Mr. Mike Eagan, to the Y Leaderboard series this morning. Thank you so much, sir, for honoring our invitation. It's good to have you around here. Are you still looking for employment? Yes. So when Uncle Mike came in, he told us he's looking for employment, and I'm still here wondering, with all these accolades, if we can afford him. You said you're going to give us a discount.
Yes.
A discount? How huge of a discount are you going to?
2% discount.
How much?
2%.
2%. So, but all jokes aside, it's very, very good to have you on here. I mean, for people like myself and a lot of us listening today, radio is what it is now. Live radio shows are what it is now, thanks to the contribution of people like you. And so we believe today, before the show ends, a lot of us will learn so much about you. And of course, learn where to pick up our lines, the kind of things to put into our craft so that we become better people like you. Let's go back to when you were born in Sekondi, Takoradi. How was life like back then as a young guy? What were the sources of entertainment? How was life like pretty much back in the days?
I was rather limited with entertainment because my father was a Christian who forbids certain things in life. And he was a very religious man. So we were not given the privilege of going out to have fun. In fact, when I wanted to go to the movie, I went and enrolled as a chorister. So instead of going to the choir practice, I would sneak and go and watch a movie.
It was that bad?
You call that bad?
Yeah, because I'm sure you might have had so much interest in the kind of things you were doing for fun, so much that you would actually go enroll in the choir.
Yes, I did enroll.
And you did join?
Yeah, I did join.
Okay.
Went to choir practices and all that. But in between.
In between that?
Yes.
So out of maybe 5 choir sessions in the week, how many did you skip for a movie?
It's usually three choir meetings in a week. And I was sneaking one at least.
On a good day?
On a good day. Depending on the movie and show.
Wow. Did you still have the interest in getting on radio and all that at that age?
I was too young to think of a path to take at that time. But I was interested in the movie stars, Errol Flynn and many others. Elizabeth Taylor, Dinah Ross, not Dinah Ross, Dinah somebody.
Okay. The other Dinah.
It's many years ago.
Wow.
And my memory is not as strong as yours now.
Yeah. Wow. So you grew up in the colonial era. How were things like? Some of us didn't meet that.
Well, things were rather very prim and proper.
Okay.
And discipline was of great essence to every parent. And those days, if I went out and misconducted myself, any elderly person around could discipline me and report me to my daddy. that this is what your son was doing at this time of the day at this place, and this the conversation I had with him. So it was like everybody's linked to everybody in those society.
We were each other's keeper.
Yes.
All right. I've been told to check this so I can have a better view in there. People need to watch us as well. So we're streaming live. Guys, quick reminder, it's mine. It's my microphone, not yours. We are live on Facebook, Y107.9 FM. Make sure you join in. We have Mr. Mike Eagan in the studio. We're just kicking start the conversation. And so if you just join us, you haven't missed much of it. Quick reminder, Wiley the Boss series is powered by MTN everywhere you go, Cowbang, and Chocomod by Casapreco. So Uncle Mike, help me understand, what kind of family did you grow up in? What's the family setting like back then for you?
Well, I was the fifth born in the family.
Okay.
And so I began to realize what life was at the age of 6 or 7, when you can understand what to do and what not to do. And we were a family of 9 in total. 2 of them didn't live that long. My twin family members, siblings, died 2 weeks after birth.
Wow.
And the other one died at the age of 10. So we were reduced to 7.
7, okay.
But we were a very close-knit family. And my father was a civil servant. And in those days, being a civil servant was a big deal. You were recognized and respected. And especially if we worked hard enough to be given a promotion, which is usually titled, you are being given a European appointment.
Okay.
It means you've been raised higher than the ordinary civil servant. And because of his position, we all got the honor and the respect of the neighborhood. And we grew up in a place called European Town. But in secondary, it was called Akwobrim.
Okay.
I never got to know the meaning of Akwobrim. But I know European Town because most of the residents there were Europeans.
These were sailors?
No, civil servants.
Civil servants, okay.
Civil servants. The police commissioner was also in the same area. And it was some sort of specialized apartheid sort of living, in that at 6 o'clock, people living in the European side are allowed to go beyond the barrier.
Yeah.
But if we're not, and the police knew almost everybody who lived around there, so you would be allowed to enter in and out.
Yeah. Nice. Would that be the basic grounds from where the discipline that you carried through your career and life came from? Was that where you picked the basic elements of the discipline that has been with you since?
I wouldn't say that I was the only one who picked up that habit.
Okay.
But nationwide, discipline was of great essence to the people. And parents will compare notes as to how well your family is conducting himself. So I wouldn't single myself out as an exemplary disciplinary person. But it was almost
a norm. Okay.
And you, the young one, misbehaving, you even check yourself before you finish your misbehavior.
You mentioned that at some point or in the beginning or around the time you were growing up, that time you could be checked by any family member or checked by any ordinary person in the area, not necessarily your parents. Did you have any such experience?
Well, maybe I will exempt myself from here.
Okay.
Because I think I was a very good boy.
Okay.
That you could hardly pick up any issues with me. But there were other people who did a few things, but not as grievous as it is being practiced today.
These days.
You know, young ones doing all kinds of things, misconducting themselves, smoking, drinking, and doing bad things.
All the other vices.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about your school days, your early school days. Which school did you attend? What kind of students were you? Any fond memories about your days in school?
Well, I went to Secondary Methodist School
Okay.
near the main Western Regions railway station. And my father was a teacher before he became a civil servant.
Okay.
And he had this routine that all his children must be taught in the house up to a certain grade before they are enrolled in a classroom. And when it got to my turn to go to school, he hadn't prepared me well enough. So I went to start class 1 at the age of about 8.
Wow.
Those days, if you went to school, you put your hand on top of you
Oh, so it's really true.
and touch your ear, and if your hand can reach it, then you are.
I thought it was the shoulder. It's just the ear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to school, enrolled at the age of about 9
In class 1.
in class 1. But my father has taught me well in the house that I could recite A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, 1 to 10 to 100, and I could do some mathematical equations as well. So I spent one day in class 1 because my age was above my classmates.
Yeah.
In my first day in school, I was tested and I was promoted to class 2.
So you just did one day of class 1.
Yes.
Interesting.
Then in class 2, I was there for about 2 weeks. Then I was sent to class 3.
One day in class 1, 2 weeks in class 2, and then
about another 2 weeks in class 3. So I joined my age group at standard 1.
after they had gone through all the years, you just came and then did it
Yes.
in less than 3 months.
Because I've done that from the house.
Yeah.
I've studied in the house and gotten all the necessary gradings.
Wow, interesting. I mean, that makes you exceptionally great as well. I mean, you spent days. I think this is a record. Or you're sure maybe somebody has also gone through that before?
Maybe. Because keeping records was not popular in
It
those
wasn't
days.
popular back then. All right.
But I'm sure the school must have had copies of what has happened because they needed to record the history of the students, of the pupils, we called them in those days.
How did your friends, the mates you had to catch up with, in class 3 or 4 feel about this? Did they not feel cheated, or you did not care?
Well, they looked at me as a wonder boy
Okay.
because what they did in three years, I did in
Less than 3 months.
yes.
So from there, you moved on to Fijai Senior Secondary School.
Yes.
You remember any fond memories by your days out there? What kind of student were you, by the way, in senior high school?
I would say I was an average student.
Average.
Yeah.
Okay. You had interest in sports, performing, any of that sort?
Well, sports was just a hobby,
Okay.
not necessarily wanting to be a footballer for life.
And you did good at it?
But table tennis was rather my
Okay.
game.
All right.
And I'm happy and proud to say that I played table tennis to national level. And in 1958 Independence Day celebration games, I became the national doubles champion
Wow.
in table tennis. And I played for Ghana against Nigeria in one of the tournaments. But the Nigerians were much, much better than we were. And they zero us in.
How did this feel at that age, getting all these achievements?
Well, it's the interest and the dedication to wanting to do anything that you do better than the other people can do it.
It must have been fun. National champion.
Yes. Doubles.
Wow. Doubles.
My partner was Jackson. He passed away not about 3 years back now, and we played against the Quay brothers. They were the champions,
Back then.
and the tournament was held in the Central Region, Cape Coast Town Hall. And the popular haircut was not like the ones we have today, but it was called Tokyo Joe.
Tokyo Joe.
You crop all the hair and leave a little bit on top of the fold, similar to what is being done today. But these days they do almost the complete shaving.
Is it what the army, the military guys do?
It was something that I don't know the origin, but it became very popular.
So you shave just a little bit of the hair at the front,
You shave the whole hair
and then you leave.
leave a little bit at the front.
Okay, so it's not punk.
No, it's not punk.
It's not punk, Tokyo Joe.
Maybe it was punk in those days, but we called it Tokyo Joe.
Tokyo Joe.
I don't know why we called it Tokyo Joe.
You had yours on?
I had mine on. And each time I smashed and won the point, they would shout, Tokyo Joe.
Wow, you've really had fun. So beyond that, I mean, at that point, you're in high school. I'll call it high school. You're in high school playing tennis, national level. You were a good student, an average student, as you said.
Yeah, average.
Yes, average student. Did you have any career aspirations at that point?
I don't think I had any particular. Maybe I wanted to be like my father. Wanted to be a civil servant because he had a car and he had his helmet at the back of the car, and each time the police people saw him, they would give him some reverence.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be like him. I enjoyed riding in his car.
Would it be fair to say he was your first role model?
I would say so, yes.
Okay.
Yes. He impacted a lot on me. And you're talking about secondary school. My older brothers were boarding school students.
Okay.
But I was a day student at Fijai. And I never forgave my father for making me a day student because I also wanted to have a chop box with sardine, corned beef,
and your trunk.
In my trunk and all that, but I didn't get that. So I was given a bicycle to ride to school every day.
I'm sure they also must have wished they had yours. You had a bike. You had to ride through town every day.
Well, yeah, the bike was fun, but I wanted a chop box too. I wanted to have my own sardine and corned beef.
I'm sure you must have had some at home.
Not in my box.
Not in your box. You just needed the box.
That's the difference. To carry a box to school and bring it back home and open it and see that you still have a couple of sardines left in there.
With all the experiences you must have experienced, I mean, the things that you must have picked up in your days of riding to and fro school, I'm sure now when you look back, you feel proud you were a day student.
That's why I was leading to that. My not being in a boarding school gave me the opportunity to get closer to my father. And I could have a conversation with him as if we were two equals. And I can remember a lot of things that he said to me whilst I was young that I didn't take them serious. But as I matured in life, I built on them. I found them very, very useful. For example, my father used to take me to work. We lived in Sekondi, but my office was at Takoradi. And every day he would drive me to work, and then the evening I'll come back on my own. And now I've missed what I was going to say. What was the question?
You got close to your dad because you were a day student.
Yes.
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 And then you were talking about the benefits. I mean, the things that you learned from him.
Right. Thank you. Now, one day going to work, we went past the bus stop, and it was quite a distance. But he reversed all the way from where we were to where the bus stop was and asked me to get out of the car because the car was already jam-packed, and gave me 3 pence for transport to go to work. And I was wondering why. Because he wanted to give somebody else a ride. And instead of getting the car overloaded, he would rather empty it with one person and pick the other one in.
And it had to be you.
And I never forgave him. So I refused to wash his car for 2 days. And then the third day I saw him pick the bucket to go and wash it himself. So I went and got another bucket and went to the car to help him wash. Whilst washing, if I passed this way, he would
turned
take
to the
me
other
to
side.
And you wash it, and then he went away to work. He didn't go with me that day, and I found my own way to the office. In the evening, he called me and said, told me a long story, and the gist of it was that he gave that man a ride because of me. I was asking myself, how does that work out? That was very negative. That I, who washes the car,
Would have to walk.
And you give somebody a ride, and you did that because of me. But then when I grew up, and I went to places and said my name is Eghan, I get special treatment. Then I remembered what he said. Because you mentioned him, somebody will ask you, are you related to Mr. Eagan of Transport Corporation? Say yes. Then what do you want? And I get treatment, VIP treatment. And this is some of the things that I benefited from staying home with him and not going to a boarding school.
Wow. It's a great one to learn. Thank you so much, Ray, for that. Wow. And so it all made sense now. I mean, it made sense growing up to find out that he actually did that for you. I mean, moral lesson out of that, we had to make certain sacrifices to make sure the future goes brighter.
Indeed.
Yeah, we might not understand it on our level, but it will definitely make sense when the time is due. You talked about he sending you to work. Is this work the Barclays job he got you?
Yes. As soon as I got out of secondary school, Fijai, he got me a job at Barclays Bank in Takoradi. And I think because he was a senior civil servant, he had some recognition from the bank. And maybe he had a reasonable bank balance. So the manager was able to give me a job as a bank clerk.
Okay.
So I started from the scratch. And you get enrolled at the bank as a bank clerk, and your first stop is to go around every morning at various senior tables and pick up the letters, open them, stamp them, and distribute them to the various departments. And then you also do the posting and the listing of all the letters for the day. Then when you graduate from there, you are sent to the ledger department.
Okay.
The ledger department to the waste department. In our days in the bank, we didn't have calculators.
Wow, so everything was pen and paper.
Today, you just punch figures and they do the additions and the subtractions for you. But in our days, you have to do everything by calculation. And as we sit here, if a car is going and I look at the number, I can add the numbers to in 2 seconds.
Wow, we can try that in the course of the show. We can.
And I do that almost every day. This morning I did it about 4 times before I got here.
It's been a part of you since.
Yes. The moment I see the numbers, I add
Just
them
add it up.
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm always aiming at 31 because there's a game called 31, card game called 31.
Okay.
And if you have 31, you have the maximum, the winning number.
Okay.
So I'm still practicing 31.
Till you get there.
Yes, till I get there.
Was this feat an exciting one for you? I mean, you were fresh out of school. I'm sure your mates might have gone straight to university. Your dad decided to put you in a job at work so you can work. Were you excited about it? What were your initial reactions when he decided to, send you to go and work instead of going to school?
I was excited in that I was going to be paid. And I could buy my own things. But unfortunately, my father had a routine that if I got my pay, I should go and give the pay to him. And he would decide how much he should give me as a pocket money.
And then how much he saves for you?
How much he saves for me and how much he gives my mother.
Do you remember your first salary?
16 pounds.
16 pounds.
We were using sterling then.
Okay.
16 pounds a month. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And now that the value has gone up, it sounds like a lot of money.
Yes.
What were some of the things you did for fun at that age? You were straight out of school. You were playing sports. You were top of your game, so to say. You were with your dad almost every time, working, excited about your job, of course. What were some of the things you did for fun when you were not busy doing all that?
Every day was fun for me.
Okay.
Everything I did with a lot of passion, and it was fun for me.
When you got into the banking...
I was interested in music.
Okay, yes, it's good.
I was very interested in music, and I like to listen to all kinds of music, jazz, high life, Latin American music, and there were particular programs that I used to listen to. Television was entirely out of the way in those days until the 60s. But in the 50s, radio was the only vehicle for entertainment. And I would listen to all these stations and give particular attention to the announcers and the presenters. And there were few that I still remember their names. Peter King was a newsreader.
Okay.
and now they escaped me. But coming to the local station, there were people like Gilbert Ade, who was the first Ghanaian to start commentary. And he was also a disc jockey. And it's interesting that his son, Kennedy, does a jazz program on Joy FM every Sunday.
Wow.
And each time he's on the air, I cast my mind back to his father's days. And his father was the one who introduced my late brother, Ben Eagan Jr., to sports commentary and ceremonial commentaries.
Nice. So since we've mentioned radio, let me move straight into the big question. What led you into radio? How did you even transition from working at a bank into radio? Did you have any form of training before that?
No training whatsoever. But as I said, I was listening to radio
a lot,
24 hours in a day. As long as the radio is on and there's music, I'll go and listen to it. And there was a particular program on radio when the musicians played jazz music, and it was being produced and introduced by the head of department, Mr. Leo Rabbi Williams.
Okay.
And it's called the Guitar Club. The Guitar Club was just a group of musicians without any wind instrument, just rhythms, guitar, piano, drums, bass. And it was very popular for people who love jazz. But I knew that in Second Itakra we had two guitarists who were, in my opinion then, the best that the country can boast of. So I approached them and suggested that we should also set up a guitar club for the Second Itakra region.
Yeah.
They agreed, and I went around and got some musicians from the Broadway band to be part of it. So we rehearsed, and then I wrote to Mr. Rabbi Williams that there's a guitar club in Takrady, and I would like him to give it a listen the next time he visits Takrady.
Yeah.
And he did, and recorded it, and was aired the following week. The interesting story here is that at the end of the recording, all the musicians who participated were paid 5 guineas, £5, 5 shillings. I wasn't paid anything.
But you started it all.
I started and paid all the bills, entertainment, refreshment, and their transportation to come to rehearsals and all that. And the members were teasing me. Mike, I will remove Yamobi.
What friend then?
Remuneration. Yamobi. But I wasn't disturbed. I was happy that I was able to organize them good enough to be heard on radio.
And make a good impression.
Very, very good impression. So the next time Leo was coming to Takrady, he came to record Radio Dance Time. Very popular program then. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for the regular guy that he would use as a presenter, he had gone away from the town. So Leo asked me if I could step in for the gentleman, Mr. O'Hara.
Yeah.
O-H-A-R-A.
Miss O'Hara, yeah.
Yeah, Davis O'Hara. He asked me to step in for him, and I jumped for the position. So I went we were living close to the beach. So I went to the beach and started rehearsing. This is Radio Dance Time coming to you from Zenith Town Hall.
You still remember the lines?
What I realized was that the program was popular because the MCs would paint a picture with words as to what would, because it was a live recording with a live audience dancing. So you give a description of what's
happening. Yeah.
The colors on display and all, and the music and all that. And that was recorded and played on the national radio. The following week, I had a call from Mr. Rabbi Williams asking me to come to GBC. He asked me if I was interested in working for GBC. And how could I say no? I I was excited,
Yeah.
and I jumped for the position to come to Accra to work as a broadcaster. But I had to put up a show with my mom
Okay.
that the old man would not allow me to travel outside Takoradi to Accra on my own. But I needed to come and do this job. So my mother, as always, mothers are sweet, supported me, and we got into agreement. So I came to Accra on my own. But for the first day, according to the story that I was told later, my father asked for me, and my mother denied knowing my whereabouts.
Oh, wow.
The second day, the same. Third day, she couldn't hold it. So she told my father the whole story, that this is what your son has done.
How did he react?
I wasn't there, so I can't tell. But what he did was to ask my uncle to come all the way from Takoradi to Accra to hold me by the hand
And pick you and bring you back.
and bring me back to Takoradi. And that's exactly what happened.
He brought you back to
He
Takoradi.
brought me back to Takoradi. Those days, discipline and
Yeah.
obedience is paramount. You can't say no to your father if he wants you to do something. Just like he asked me to get out of the car
Yeah.
and go by trotro. So he took me by the hand the next morning to Barclays Bank, and the manager was called Mr. Every. And apologized profusely to him that my son has misconducted himself. This is what he has
Wow.
done. And my father was the one person who had a lot of respect for the white man. And he doesn't like smoking, but Mr. Every was a heavy smoker. He was smoking in his office, puffing the smoke out, and my father wouldn't say no. He consumed all that. And then when he told Mr. Every the whole story, Mr. Every said, I've been watching your son. Each time there's an entertainment program, a refreshment, or some sort of cocktail at the office, he MCs it. So I think his interest is in radio.
Wow.
So I will let him go. But if in 6 months' time he's still not happy, he can come back out
Come back
do
and
his
work.
job.
Wow, this is beautiful.
And my father couldn't say no to the white man asking him to break the rules in my favor. So he allowed me to come to Accra. So that's the story how I came to Accra. It wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned, yes.
It just so happened that I had made an impression on the mind of Mr. Leo Rabi Williams. I did a good job, and he offered me a job.
When you were told to come back to Takoradi, of course, when your uncle came to pick you back, what were the thoughts running through your mind? Did you feel it was the end, or you still had hopes of it resurfacing along the line?
On reflection, I was disappointed and sad, but at the same time, it didn't worry me. I thought it was an opportunity that I was going to lose, and if I did, God help me. So I wasn't worried too much about it. I was sad that I was losing that opportunity, but it didn't disturb me that much.
Mike, this was a field you had not touched before. You were experienced in banking. That was your field for a while.
Yes.
And then radio was new. You took a bold step and it worked. You stood in for somebody, your work was recommended, and now you had a job. Did you face any hurdles when you got into the field? Any challenges you remember?
Challenges were with colleagues,
Okay.
but our boss, and I must also add that I was recruited at the same time as my very good friend, David Larby. He's passed away a few years back. We were the two young men that Leo had picked and given us a platform to perform. And we were given a lot of room to operate. We were not restricted. What Leo did was give us the ample room to exercise our creativity and thinking mind. So the challenge we met were with the technical staff who would not want to do things that we wanted to do. But Leo gave us the freedom to operate and show our creativity and our ability to impress.
Yeah.
He himself was a very free-minded person. And as I say, he gave us ample room to operate. And there was one particular occasion that we did something that was not wholly accepted. But he stood in for us, supported us, and came back and gave us a query on the blind side of everybody else. And I always remember that.
Wow. He just cautioned you guys on the surface and then internally discouraged you guys between them.
Yes, and told us what to do next time.
Wow.
He schooled us.
Elements of a good boss.
Yes. And another person who must be given high mention here is Peter Myers. He's also deceased.
Okay.
He was not a trained broadcaster, but he was very talented guy, and has a wonderful way of presentation. Had the right modulation of his voice, and he'll give us a script to go and read in the studio, and he'll come back and say it was not colorful enough. There was no life in it. It's dead. Peter Myers trained us, David Labby and myself, how to broadcast, to enunciate, to take your time, to not mix the words, don't cut off your T's and your S's. And writing the script as a guide more than to go and execute the script according to as it's written. Yeah, if we are not able to speak it out, then you should be able to read it.
Yeah.
That's why you write a script.
You pretty much just learned on the job.
Yes.
Right.
But we also went to training school. GBC had a training schools with a supervisor from the BBC who took us through the various stages in broadcast, the basic stages.
For the sake of listeners like myself who never really got the opportunity to understand GBC proper, I mean back in the days when it set off, give us a vivid picture of what GBC and its external services used to be back then, and what it represented for Africans in general.
GBC was a very happy home. There was very good partnership between the staff, very friendly, very warm, and always ready and willing to support the other person. Let me tell you a story about the external service.
Okay.
I wasn't there at the Flagstaff House then, Kwame Nkrumah's office. The Canadians came and built the television station for us and trained our producers and presenters in Canada. But I'm told that when the Canadians went to present the budget for the TV station to Osajifo, he asked them to go and do a budget for an external broadcasting station. So they did it and went back to present the plan to him. And I was told, I wasn't there, but I'm told that he said to them, how much is it going to cost? And they gave him the figures, double the figure. I want to reach the world.
Wow. Told him to double the figure because he wants to reach the world.
Yes. The original intention was to reach West Africa.
Yeah.
He had started Ghana, Guinea, Mali, the West African unity. But now that he knows the figure, he wants to reach the world. An interesting thing is that as young as I was in broadcasting, and as little as I knew outside the world, I had letters from Australia and far away telling me about how they caught the station frequency by accident. But they loved the program, and they would like to know more about Ghana and the music that we play here. But the reason for setting up the external service was for the African emancipation. As he said at the Independence Day at the Polo Ground, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's to live with the total liberation of the continent of Africa. he wanted to use that vehicle to build up interest and action for the freedom fighters. And we had the opportunity to work with a lot of the freedom fighters who came to Ghana for some sort of tutelage. Kawunda was in Ghana as a broadcaster, and we were broadcasting in Swahili, Portuguese, Arabic, French, and Hausa.
Are these things still active with the GBC?
You'd be sorry, or at least I feel sorry each time I walked into broadcasting and saw the external block, which used to be
the pride
and a great attraction to visitors. It's gone down. Even where they park the cars are all broken down.
Wow.
In broadcasting now. I don't think since we started the Fourth Republic, they've given the radio station the proper attention and
deserves
that they deserve. But they all use a vehicle to promote their agenda, but they don't take care of broadcasting.
Wow. Mike, what were some of the shows you were directly involved in? Before we get to the Radio Dance Time show, what were some of the other shows? You mentioned that you were getting listeners from all parts of the world writing to you, wanting to know more about Ghana because they mistakenly caught the frequency. What were some of the shows you were directly involved in at the station? What were you doing?
Well, in the early days, we did programs for the forces.
Okay.
You know, Nkrumah and his freedom fighters idea, he sent Ghanaian soldiers to Congo to help in the liberation struggle there. And we did special programs for the soldiers to link them with their families back home. We did jazz for the forces, high life for the forces, and request time for the forces. We also did, what should I say, down south.
Okay.
At one stage in broadcasting, we were banned from playing any music that is not Ghanaian or African in texture.
What caused that?
To promote the African personality, to make us believe in what we have and what we are worth.
And this was a directive from the president?
From the president.
Okay.
And so a program like Down South also became very popular because we were playing only South African music, the Quellas and the Mary Makeba songs.
From what you're painting, it really sounds like there was a total liberation, you know, of the African man through broadcasting. Of course, we uniting all the parts of Africa through entertainment, news, and then media, of course.
Yes. Nkrumah was trying to make us believe and have respect for what is our own. You know, currently there's this desire by Ghanaians to wear African print.
Yeah.
And it's coming in all kinds of forms and colors. This was started years ago by Nkrumah soon after independence.
Nice. What was the highlight of your radio career with GBC during your 4-year, stay with them? I'm sure you must have experienced a lot, but what would you describe as your highest point in your years with GBC as a broadcaster?
It's hard to pick one.
Okay.
Because there are quite a
Several,
lot.
right?
But really coming to mind is the interview I did with Sir Alf Ramsey, who was then the manager of the English team that won the World Cup in 1966. And since then, they haven't won anything again. But I did interview the producer for the sports program on external service, that is the World Service, asked me to interview Alf Ramsey. And I asked him, where do I go to do the interview? Usually they would arrange for you, make the necessary bookings and appointments, then they give you the details and you go and do the interview. But he said, no, you come to Bush House at X time, and then he will be here himself. He'll be doing another program. So after that, I want you to interview him for the World Service. So I went and I interviewed Sir Alf Ramsey. And I remember the one question which became a major question was that now that in one particular tournament, Brazil was playing, I think, Portugal or so. I don't remember the opponent, but Pele was then the star, the most talked about footballer in the world.
In the world.
Yeah. Was so brutally attacked that he got wounded and was carried off the pitch. And he claimed that he wasn't going to be able to play again till the whole tournament is over.
ends.
So in my interview with Sir Ramsey, I asked him, now that Pele has been butchered out of the tournament, who is going to be the main attraction? He gave his opinion about it. But the word butcher that I used became the major attraction
of the interview.
So it was played on the national domestic service as well. And that got me into fame. So many of the producers from the World Service, each time they wanted someone to go and do an interview, they would call me. And that made my pocket
fat.
Very fat. I'm happy to say that through my freelancing with the BBC, I was earning as much as £300 a week.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot, because I'll do interviews and I'll do my own program, and then all bits and pieces added together, depending on the duration of the interview that you use. You get paid £10, 10 shillings, or £5, 5 shillings, and I could do quite a number of interviews, even on Sundays.
You became a national sensation through GBC, through your interviews. At what age did all this happen? How old were you at that point?
I was in my 30s.
You were in your 30s?
Yes.
At that point, did you have plans of venturing into anything else, or solely sticking to broadcasting and journalism, so to say?
Broadcasting was my passion.
It was your passion.
Broadcasting was my everything. And I wanted to do broadcasting 24 hours a day. Sorry. But it got to a point where I thought bureaucracy and officialdom was holding me back. And I didn't want that. For example, I used to have let me confuse you a little bit.
Sure, it's allowed.
I'm happy to say that I was the one who introduced phone-ins in Ghana for the first time.
Wow.
Way back in 1973. And my co-host was Dr. Joyce Aye.
I think when she was on the show, she mentioned you as well. Wow.
So we were then broadcasting, and we wanted to do a program on press freedom.
Okay.
And the then head of program said he wouldn't allow me to do that program. His reason was that it was such a terse issue and a delicate subject that he wouldn't sacrifice his 25 years in broadcasting for my adventurism. So I said to him that either I do that. Program had run for about a year. There hasn't been any incident. So why do you now feel that I won't be capable to handle the program? So you either allow me to go ahead and do the press freedom show, or that's the end of the program. It was called Buzz Me.
Okay.
And he insisted. So that ended the program abruptly. Sadly enough, they invited another senior broadcaster to take the slot because the program had become, this was during a champion's reign.
Okay.
And I was told that he used to listen to the program a lot, because what we did was to choose one subject.
Okay.
And then allow people to phone in.
So the public opinion was said.
Yes. Unfortunately, the one who was asked to take over from us wasn't able to handle the program to the same level. So the program was taken off the air completely. But your original question was, what plans did I have?
Yes, along the line. If you had plans for anything beyond radio.
I didn't have any plans, but as I said a little while ago, Officialdom was bugging me.
Yes.
I wanted to explore. I wanted to be adventurous. I wanted to be proactive. But then the regulations and systems and methods of operating
were too strict to allow you to do that.
Yes. Strict, I don't think is the word.
Too confining, limiting?
Limiting.
Yeah.
Limiting.
Okay.
It doesn't give you scope.
Yeah.
As I said, from the beginning, Leo Rabbi Williams gave us the open space. An almost carte blanche. Check. So now that we're being restricted and overly being restricted, I didn't feel comfortable. So I developed this habit of wanting to do something on my own.
Okay.
But that I was also encouraged by a very good friend of mine, Mr. Ralph Quist. I owe him a lot because I used to be a disc jockey in a nightclub called Le Chevalier.
This was while you were still working at GBC?
Yes.
Okay.
GBC was paying me 300 CDs a month, and deductions, accommodation, motorcycle deductions will give me about 235 CDs. And the disc jockey I was being paid 300 CDs a month, nothing deducted, plus free meal.
And drinks.
Plus tips.
Okay. When you play so good, people come and tip you.
Yes. What I was doing is that it was a key club. Key club in the sense that every member, every patron of the club is given a key. So when you come, you don't pay gate fees.
You just open and you go in.
Just open and go in, either with your guests or in company.
That's a great idea, you know? No gate fee, so long as you can open and get in.
And I tried to get to know them individually.
Okay.
So you walk in there and I say, oh, this is Mr. So-and-so coming, welcome to the club. And I'll play the record that you have requested from me before. And I play it for you. So I got a lot of friends and they'll give me tips. But the thing I did was that as a civil servant, I wanted to make a lot more money than my civil servant pay. So I had an arrangement with the bar attendant that I usually drink Coca-Cola.
Okay.
I'm advertising for Coca-Cola.
That's allowed.
So, and Coca-Cola is given to me free of charge. It's on the house. So what I do is that if somebody wants to offer me a drink, the patrons will come and ask me, what would you like to drink for today? And I will say brandy and Coke.
Okay.
And I don't touch alcohol. So the girl knows that
the brandy is going to your pocket.
Indeed. So you bring me the Coke,
which is on the house.
On the house.
Okay.
And then the brandy cost will go into my bag.
Your coffers.
Indeed. So that's how I saved money and was able to travel to the UK.
At this point, were your parents in full support of what you were doing?
It's interesting you ask this question because my father later became my ardent listener. And he would listen to every program that I would do. He would take the schedule and listen to it and sometimes even write the things that I have said, the presentation that I did, and send it to me to indicate how well he has listened to the program.
And this took you hard work. Because I remember when your uncle brought you back to Takoradi and your dad walked you to Barclays Bank, in your boss's office you were told to go explore, and that if after 6 months things don't go well for you there, you can come back and work at the bank.
Yes.
And so you put in so much to ensure that 6 months doesn't meet you wanting so much that you'd like to come back.
Indeed.
Wow.
Indeed.
Did you have to make any form of sacrifices at this point to ensure that you stayed on your toes throughout your days at GBC, you working in a club? Did you keep out friends? You know, what were some of the things that you had to cut out in order to stay on top of your game?
I try to do as much as I can with my time. I have a lot of family values. I believe in family. And I had my children here. In fact, my son, who was then about 10 years old, was my radio presenter too.
Wow.
I did record his answers to questions that we have planned. I will ask him. I'll play a record and say that I like this record, and he say I don't like it. Just that.
Just that bit.
Just that bit.
Wow.
Or I think it's groovy.
and that would be his voice.
Yes, that's. But short sentences.
Yeah.
And a lot people liked it a lot.
Are these what we would call liners at this point?
I don't know what you call it these days, but
okay.
Because modern broadcasters,
things have changed, right?
A lot.
Wow. I'm told along the line you worked with VRA.
Yes.
How did that even come in?
VRA was purely by accident again. My very good friend, David Labi, he and I were named as the Siamese twins in broadcasting. He had a job to go and work with the Ghana film industry and was given an attractive salary and left me in broadcasting. So my partner and my accomplice had gone away. So I went to the head of the department, Mr. Akrofi, then, and said, this is the story, and I'd like to stay, but can you do something about my salary? And he says, no, you either go and study music up to a certain level so that you qualify to be given an appointment. Because the entertainment department was moved into the umbrella of music department. So I needed to have music qualification to be promoted.
Yeah.
And it's not a one-day's job. It's going to take me about a year to do that course. And I wasn't interested in doing that course. And I thought that he could do something about it. But he also refused to help me out. He also refused to help me out. So I went and spoke to a friend of mine casually.
Okay.
About my predicament. And his brother, my friend's brother, was then the head of VRA, Mr. Futa. He's now Alaji Futa. So he said, oh, there's a vacancy as the entertainment manager for the community center. So if I'm interested, he will talk to his brother about it. So that's how I got the job, to cut a long story short. So I took up my appointment as entertainment manager for the for the community center. And that was purely for the Ghanaian community in Akosombo.
Okay.
And I was there for 1 year. In fact, I was there when Osajfu came to light the Akosombo Dam. Switched it on for the first time. Yeah, there was a big dam.
Powered Ghana through it. Wow. Was this an interesting job for you?
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Was it challenging?
Yeah. Well, if you want to do a good job, you must meet challenges.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not challenging.
Yeah. Nice.
But I also remember throwing my mind back that one day one of the patrons came down with his guitar and started strumming and singing. And it was a cosmopolitan community. The Italians were there, the French people were there, the English were there, Ghanaians were there. And it attracted a number of people, not a large group of people, but it created an interest. So I arranged with him to come back the following Sunday, and I called it Palm Wine Sunday.
Okay.
So every Sunday or Saturday evening, I'll go to nearby Agomea and go and buy palm wine and bring it. And I asked this guy to come and play and sing and sell the palm wine. And the expatriates liked the palm wine a lot. So it became very popular.
Before all this happened, had the term palm wine music been coined already?
Yes,
It had been coiled already. All right, so that was where the inspiration was from.
that's right.
Live music and then palm wine with
Palm
it.
wine, yeah,
And they bought the idea.
about the idea.
At this point, were you convinced it was the right decision you had made, moving from broadcasting to VRA, still staying in entertainment?
Well, I didn't regret moving from broadcasting,
Okay.
even though I missed broadcasting. I didn't regret it. But I still continued to have links with broadcasting.
Yeah. I was told in the beginning that while you worked there, you still managed to stay sort of in radio, in the field with your in-town weekly show. At what point did the weekly show begin?
I think the sequence is rather wrong. The in-town show was before
You left.
I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
when you
maybe.
left VRA and when you left GBC, sorry, and went to VRA, it was strictly that.
Yes.
And no touch of radio.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did BBC come in?
BBC came in after my return from BBC. I don't know whether I'm answering your question in
Yeah,
sequence.
this is fine.
I
You
went
were
to
working. You left GBC and went to work at VRA.
VRA, yes.
And then did you get back to GBC again before you went to BBC, or was straight to BBC?
I'm getting confused in my mind now.
Sorry, calm down. It's fine. And so when you were working at VRA, at what point did BBC come back in? Because you had left radio.
Yes, I've left radio.
Yeah.
But I was doing, I think you were right. I was doing in town.
Yes, in town was what I was talking
Yeah,
about. Yes.
In town. It was in town was on before I even left GBC.
Yeah.
But he came back because the presenter, I think, either resigned or something happened to him. So I was asked to step in town. And that was the occasion that I had to interview Mary McCabe
Okay.
when she came as a guest of the Independence Anniversary in 65, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Or 7 years after our independence.
Yes.
Okay.
She came as a special guest of Osajifu.
Mm.
And then I interviewed her on In Town. In Town idea was to interview visitors
Who had come in?
who had come in, or event in town that is attracting attention.
Mm.
So yeah, you were right in your sequence. I was wrong.
That's fine. And this show became so big that your interest in radio or working in the broadcasting field came back 100%.
Yes.
Okay. And so what was the sequence? You left Ghana for London to train with the
Yes.
BBC.
Yes.
Okay. How did that come about? Where did the opportunity come from?
It was my determination and my belief that I needed to broaden my horizon in broadcasting. Although we were having broadcasting training here, if I listened to Voice of America and BBC, I could tell the difference between the two standards. So I thought I should go there and experience it and learn more about it. So I started saving and planning to travel to the UK. And I found it interesting and attractive enough to want to go there, because a friend, you remember earlier on I told you about Peter Myers,
Yes.
who showed us how to use our voices
Yes,
effectively
yes.
and all that. He had resigned from broadcasting, gone to BBC, and he was having his own series, Good Morning Africa. So I thought that whilst he is there, if I went there, he would help me climb the ladder again. So I wrote to him, and he said, yeah, I could come. So I started saving and building up my chest to go to the UK. That's when I left, to go and broaden my horizon and gain more experience and knowledge in broadcasting.
And that would be the first time you left Ghana?
Yes, that was my first time. My first time even leaving Takoradi was when
When you did the
I did my
GBC job.
yeah.
Okay.
So first time going to the UK, and it cost me £300 return ticket
Back then.
back then.
Visa, no stress with that.
No visa, no visa is on the house
Okay. Was this because Britain was still?
because we're Commonwealth.
Yes, Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you got to London, and how different were things?
I was rather disappointed because you see it in the movies.
Yeah.
It's glamorous
Uh-huh.
and luxury.
Uh-huh.
But while the plane was landing, I could see the houses all look alike.
Just like maybe what we saw in Takoradi and Cape Coast?
Yes. No, Takoradi was different in that the houses were standing on their own. But this one, you see a long row of houses, similar painting, similar design, all the way from one end to the other end. So I was disappointed in that until I got to town. Then I realized that, well,
Things
it's
are
for
different.
Things are different. It's for a purpose.
When you got in, were you convinced? I mean, you had landed, you realized things were obviously different. Didn't you feel the need to maybe change your mind and go back? Didn't you at any point feel, okay, maybe this is the wrong idea, I need to go back to my Ghana?
Well, the challenge was there that you have come here with a purpose. You have not even started it, and you are giving up because of the change of environment and change of scenes. So I was determined to make a success out of it. So I stayed on. But again, I didn't realize that in Ghana, Christmas is a happy time for everybody to go out and boogie. In England, everybody keeps themselves into their homes. So here I was, Christmas Day, I wanted to go out and visit a couple of friends, and even the buses were not running.
Because it's a holiday.
It's a holiday. And Christmas is Christmas to them, that is a family affair,
But your family was far away.
far away. And I was lying down in my room shedding tears,
Wow.
missing home so badly
Which year was this?
when I was a young man.
Wow, nice. And so you got into BBC as a trainee,
Yes,
and under Myers,
Peter Myers.
Peter Myers. How fast was the process for you? I mean, I'm asking this question because right from childhood, you've been a person that, for some miraculous reason, you skip turns. I mean, you don't do the regular time people do. In school, you spent less than 3 months to jump from class 1 to class 3. At BBC, you never had training. You learned on the job and quickly gained, the nation's attention through your work. Did you feel any, or was there any such incident in London at BBC that sped your career out there?
Well, again, it was not that easy. Peter Myers that I was expecting was going to be very helpful. Wasn't that helpful?
Why so?
I can't fathom it.
Okay.
What happened with Peter was that he knew I was in town. He invited me to his house to spend the night there, and then he would take me to Bush House the next day, which he did. And the next day he took me to Bush House. He interviewed me on his own program, and that was it. I wasn't getting any help from him.
But had you talked to him vividly about what kind of help you wanted?
I wrote to him.
You wrote to him.
He agreed.
And he said, come.
He said I should come. But the best help he could give me was to interview me on his program, and that's it. So I was left on my own. And every morning I go to Bush House, buy the newspaper, and there's a little corner there that I will sit and be reading it front to back. Until one day, the head of the African service walked to me in that room, little room there, and said, I've been seeing you here all this time. Who are you and what do you want? And I thought that was an open check for me to say everything about myself. So I told him everything about myself, what are my intentions and why I'm there and all that. And all he said was that we'll see what we can do, and let me. The following day I went back to sit at my place, and then he brought me another producer called Mr. Tony Cox, C-O-X. And he said, Tony would discuss an issue with you.
An issue?
Yes. And the issue was that Tony was the producer of music. And he wanted to start a program of African music. So he asked me whether I could do a pilot for him.
Okay.
And then you will see what he can do.
That was a statement that was quite repetitive. I'll see what I can do.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So I went and wrote a script and did a pilot presentation for him. And he said, okay, but this is not exactly what I want, but we'll work on it together. So he decided to send me to the training school where we learned how to write a script for a program, having the main differentiation between written word and spoken word. Because, and I still remember because Mr. Cox was saying that when you are speaking and you made a mistake on radio, it cannot be traced back. The listener can't find out whether you said X or Z.
It goes.
In writing, you can always go back and read it again. So we were taught script writing and also how to present it. And here I share an experience with you. We were about 8 students in the class, and then the director will give you a script to go and read, and then he will make corrections for you. So my script was given to me. I went and read the script, and then in the middle of it, he asked me to stop. He waved at me in the studio and asked me to come out. And he said to me, Mr. Eagan, you can't impress me. I've been in broadcasting for 35 years, and you can't impress me. What you did there was not you. Go back and be yourself, and read according to your own strength, and not copy anybody. And I felt so embarrassed.
This was you after you had worked on GBC radio for a long time. You were yourself. You were big in what you did.
But I wanted to put up a show to impress him. That was the mistake I made. So he called me and pointed it out to me that go back, but be yourself. You can't impress me. Of course, I was trying to impress him. And I did it again and be myself. And you can tell the difference between the 2 tapes. He played the first one and then played the second one. And you could tell the difference between being myself
and trying to impress him. So at what point did you start seeing and really enjoying the opportunity you had been given? I mean, all this was you trying to figure your stand, find your feet in there, get trained, knowing yourself at BBC, trying to get the show going. And that at what point did you really see yourself, okay, properly seated and ready to roll at BBC?
I think what cemented my case was the Avramsey interview. It got me. A lot of people felt that I was good enough to be part of their production. In other words, the quality of my interviews fitted their format, and so it gave me a lot of confidence. And in addition to that, I was making good money. So it sort of made me feel more confident in myself, that I've been accepted by no lesser place than the BBC.
The BBC. And at this point, family knew as well. I mean, your dad was still following you?
Yes.
Did you come back to Ghana once a while you were out there?
I was there 4 years.
4 years straight.
The only time I came back was when I was offered a job
Back here.
Back here.
Okay, so help us understand this, all right? You stayed in, I think the number 4 has a thing to do with your career. You stayed with GBC for 4 years on the first run, and then you did 4 years in London with the BBC.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So in your 4-year stay at BBC, all right, help me understand. The main reason why you decided to leave GBC was because there was a limit on how far you could go with regards to your creativity. Was there any such familiar situation in London at BBC, or things were different there?
I don't get your question.
So at GBC, you were not allowed to put your plans into action at some point. And so that is how come you decided it's either you go or the show continues. And then you left. The show continued, but it couldn't pick the pace you had left it, and so you had to go. At BBC, when you started working, when you had cemented your feet there, did you feel any such pressure, or were you allowed to go outside the box? Yes.
Well, I was given freedom.
Freedom, okay.
Well, every producer will tell you what they want and allow you to also add yours to it if you think that it will help to enhance the quality of the program. So it was a cooperative issue. You do your best for the producers. They tell you that I want you to interview this particular man, and this is the reason why I want you to interview him. In fact, you are trained to build a theme before you even go to do the interview. That I want to interview Mr. Mike Eagan, and what I want to draw from him is maybe his interest in a particular subject or a particular issue.
Yeah.
So you go and then you go and do it and add your own little thought to it. And then it comes and it makes an impression on the producer. So the next time he wants another interview, he picks up the phone and calls you that Mr. So-and-so is in town and I would like you to do an interview with him. He's so-and-so. So what angle do you think you can get? Of course, they also rely on the fact that I'm an African, so I understand the African concept better than they do. So they give you the freedom to add your Africanization into it.
Yeah. So 4 years was good, obviously. You were paid better.
Yes.
You had the opportunity of meeting a lot more people.
Yes.
You had the room to experiment more of your ideas, just like you just described. What then brought about your decision to return home?
Two issues.
Okay.
Two main issues. One, my son.
Okay.
On Sundays, I do the house laundry, me, my wife, and my son. I do the Sunday laundry. I go to the laundrette, wash it, dry it, come back and do the ironing for the week. And that's when I watch football on television. And it was black and white television, a small box. Whilst I was watching, my son comes and changes the channel without asking permission from me. So I asked him to change it back, and he refuses. So I change it, and he changes it as well. And I was finding it difficult to understand his position. That I am the father of the house.
You are the son.
And I pay the bills. And why do you prefer watching your program instead of me watching my program? So I gave him a little smack. And he went into his room and didn't come down till the next day. The next day was a Monday. So he went to school, came back from school, and at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my doorbell rings, and there's a lady standing there asking who I am. Are you Mr. Eagan? I say yes. Can I come in? I'm the teacher I'm the welfare officer from Wexford Gardens. That's where my son was
That was your son, okay.
So I said, what can I do for you? He said, well, I would like to come in. So I took her in. She sat down, introduced herself to me, and told me that my son was in school today, but he wasn't himself. He wasn't his active self. And they found out that I gave him a smack, and that I shouldn't smack him again. I should talk to him, get him to understand and appreciate what I'm saying to him, but not to hate him.
Wow.
And I said to myself, my goodness me, do you know how many knocks I got from my father? So I realized that that was not a place to bring up an African child.
You didn't want that kind of upbringing for your child.
Yes. And since then I realized that most of the children who have been born there have a certain attitude. And they interact with their parents in a way that I wouldn't want my son to interact with me, that style. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come back to Ghana. And to top it up, broadcasting, GBC has started commercial service, and my name had been mentioned several times at their meetings that they should get me to come back and help. So that was the motivation for me, that there's a job waiting for me. And I was also dying to come back and show what I have learned and how much I can help improve the quality of broadcasting in Ghana.
At GBC.
So these are the two reasons what made me
Beautiful.
return.
All right, so you decided to come back home and then pick up this position you had been offered at GBC. Were you welcomed with open arms?
Open arms? No. When I came back to Ghana, there was a coup d'etat.
Interesting.
And I don't know whether you've ever heard about Apollo 508.
No, sir.
Oh, it was one of the things that Apollo was
The eye issue? Yes.
And it was named after, no, let me go back. Apollo was the eye ailment. And then when Dr. Busia was head of state, no, he wasn't head of state, he was head of government business. Akufo-Addo's father was then the president. So he sacked all the other members who were not in his political inclination. So Mr. Ajolo, who was then the deputy director of broadcasting, came to London, did the interview for not just Mike Eagan interview, but interviewed lots of people for appointment in Ghana. He came and did that. And then because he was from the old regime, he's been sacked. And I got back to Ghana. It took me 1 month to get to Ghana. I came by boat.
How?
Because it was a cargo boat, and it was stopping at various ports to discharge.
Offload,
So I came to Ghana, and Ajolodo, who had given me the employment letter, had been sacked. So they said they have no idea who I am and what I was looking for.
Wow. Let me understand this. So you were interviewed in London by an official, and given an appointment letter to come back home.
And paid for my ticket.
Paid for your ticket.
Yes.
But because there was a coup, you had to come by boat.
No, I chose to come by boat because it was easy to carry my luggage.
You had a lot of luggage.
Yes.
And so you wanted to come with it.
Yes.
And it took you a whole month.
Yes.
On the sea to get here.
Not that it was a punishment or anything.
No.
It was the schedule for the boat, because we stopped at almost every West African port to offload and unload. So the delay was not caused by any deliberate attempt by anybody.
But your choice.
My choice. If I come by MV Royal, which was a passenger, it would have been 1 week.
Okay. And you wouldn't have missed the opportunity.
I wouldn't have missed the opportunity.
And so when you think back and you remember the decision you took, that because you had a lot of luggage, you would take a cargo boat instead of the passenger boat to get to Ghana, do you feel you could have done things better?
No. In fact, I wish I can have that same boat again. Because it was such a sublime experience. You travel on a boat for 1 whole month. You can go for days without land. You can go for days, see nothing but just pure water, blue. and dolphins jumping and following the waves of the boat. Such a wonderful experience.
It was the break you needed.
Yes. So I would love to do that again, have a boat ride, but I can't afford it now.
You can't afford it now. And so when you got to town, because there had been a coup, the official that interviewed you was no longer in service, and so he said he didn't know you.
Yes, broadcasting didn't know me.
And so you had to start all from the start.
So I had to find a way to convince the officials there.
But they didn't know you. Didn't they know your work? Didn't they know your records?
They knew me. They knew me. But they were afraid. You know, the African politics. I wouldn't say Ghana politics. African politics. Once you are not in power,
you're seen as a threat?
Yes.
Okay.
And not that I was a threat, but the officials who were governing broadcasting then were a threat. So whatever they touch, nobody wants to touch it because they are afraid that they may be affected.
One of the highlights of your second coming, according to my research, was your involvement with the Soul to Soul concert back in 1971. It was such a big event.
71.
71, yes. What was this concert about, and how did you get involved, and in what capacity? I was told you were the host, but did you go beyond that?
Yes, I did. Soul to Soul was a concept by one Ed Musk, an American Hollywood person. He wanted to shoot a movie of Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So he went there, but unfortunately, because of the civil war, he couldn't do it. And he wanted to come to Ghana to film it here. And then Ghana also had its own problems.
Yeah.
So he was caught between the devil and the dark blue sea. But later on, the civil war in Nigeria subsided. So they went back, and I think they still couldn't do it. But his son, Tom Musk, had also thought about bringing African Americans back home to their roots. So he came to Ghana to visit, and he was directed to the Art Center to talk to the officials there to see what can be done. And he was welcomed there, and he was given guidance as to what to do and where to go and what not to do. And my name was given to him to contact me in broadcasting. So Tom came to meet with me and told me the whole story and asked me what I can do. And I said, well, this is my position in broadcasting. I'm a presenter, and this is what I can do. So I was employed as a consultant to the whole program. And more to do with the media, to help them link up with the media to give it maximum publicity. So that's how I got into it. And I'm happy to say that I wrote most of the jingles and the commercials for the show, and the opportunity to meet with all these great stars from America, Wilson Pickett, Les McCann, Voices of East Harlem.
I was told you met Ike Turner.
Yes, that was an experience.
Wow.
Ike Turner and his wife Tina were given a place to change, and my place was close to theirs. So I arrived. When I arrived, they had already arrived, and they were sitting in the lounge. You know, the Black Independence Square, the half moon thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of rooms there. You can take. There's a banquet hall there and all that, and rooms there too, as for offices and all that. So they were there before I got there, and I was walking past, and they stopped and said, "What do you want?" So I said, "I'm the MC, and I'm going to the changing room." And she used a 4-letter word. I don't give a farthing. Who you are, get out of here. But I ignored that statement. I had the temperament not to get angry that easily. because on the spur of the moment, I could have said something, and God knows what could have happened.
Exactly, could have escalated.
Yeah. So I just ignored him, went to my room, and did my changing there, went back to. But he was the only person who I had direct interaction with.
Mm-hmm.
And Roberta Flack,
Okay.
she was, they took them on a tour to visit places of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Elmina Castle and Cape Coast Castle. And Roberta Flack was 3 persons ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the hole of no return,
Mm-hmm.
I was struck. But she was struck even heavier.
Mm-hmm.
She just passed out. And luckily the person, I don't know whether it was in Pickett or whoever was there, held her and put her on the ground for some time. That's how deep, how painful that experience was and still is. To see that people were pushed into between those holes and never came back. And the impact that it had on people differently. I wasn't happy about it, but it didn't hit me as hard as it did hit Roberta Flack. But that was a magnificent show. That was a great show. All the artists were good. I have not heard about the Voices of Islam until they came to Ghana. Santana had not been heard by many people, but they became the toast.
Back then.
Yeah.
Wow. At this point, I mean, let's compare back then to now. When you sit, you see celebrities, you see OAPs, you see media personalities. The kind of reception people give them now, was it the same thing you received back then? Or things were different?
Things were different. We were given reverence and respect and recognition. But today is different. They seem to get away with murder. Boxers can pull a gun easily on people, threaten them. Musicians can decide to insult people free of charge. It's not the same. The culture is different. The attitude is different.
At this point in time in your career, you had seen so much. You had interviewed so many people. You had been to GBC, you went to BBC, came back, started something beautiful, and then you moved on to the Mike Eagan show. How many years in planning did it take you to get to this point, the show? Because I'm sure you must have had it at the back of your mind from the beginning.
Yes. Whilst I was in the UK with the BBC, there was another program that I loved, the Eamon Andrews show. It was a chat show, and he would interview, depending on the guest, and as you may experience yourself, if you have a good guest, you can speak to one guest for an hour and still have a good package. And Eamon Andrews had interviewed lots and lots of dignitaries and personalities that I liked his style and his format. So I had in mind that if I returned to Ghana, I would start something like that. So there was a program called, was it Still in Town or something? There was another program that was becoming very unpopular. So GBC wanted to change it and give the slot to somebody else. I had then gone to see the head of programs, Mr. Van der Poy, that I had this idea in my mind that I'd like us to work on it. And he asked me to do a memo to him, which I did, and it was in the waste paper basket the next day. He didn't even bother to look at it. But when this other program was becoming a problem, he called me and said that I should give him that document again. So I did, and he asked me to, if I can put a pilot program together for viewing. And I did. He gave me a producer, Mr. Comrade Taylor, may he rest in peace, to work with me to produce a pilot program. We did, and it was for viewing and for approval.
And it must have been a beautiful journey.
Yes, it was. So we did the pilot, and then someone called me and said that they are going to do the preview today at studio so and so and so. So I sneaked in there to go and watch it. At the end of the program, someone said, the program is good, but Mike Eagan is trouble. Can we control him? Then I gave a slight cough at the back. Then everybody turned and saw that I was sitting down there, and it was approved.
Wow, such a beautiful, memory with that. I've learned so much about this. I mean, so at what point? I mean, you were having so much fun with this, the freedom that it came with, your excellence in the field that you had touched, you had learned and impacted so much. When did you decide to drop the mic? And, what led to your decision to get off radio? I mean, retire from all this?
Well, I think there's time to call it a day with every profession. You can't do it forever.
That's true.
So I had done my bit, and I think if modesty will permit me, I've chalked some successes. I must have failed in some areas.
Yeah.
So I thought I should call it a day. But I do miss radio and television. But I think I still like to give applause to the people who helped me out with my adventurism and go-get-it attitude. Because I think the Mike Eagan show became very popular because of the kind of people that I interviewed. I remember on one occasion, I went to the airport to see someone off, and there was a father, a parent, with his children trying to board the Ghana Airways plane to go away. Those days it was not easy getting on Ghana Airways plane. So it was a fight.
It was a struggle.
You need a struggle. And this little girl with his father, who is busy trying to get attention from the counter, was being pulled by the daughter. Daddy, 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 Mike Eagan.
Wow.
He gave me a lot of happiness and pride. And the father just looked at me and...
I need to get on this flight, not this. Wow.
I have a problem here to solve, and you want me to look at Mike Eagan. Can he solve my problem for me?
Wow, that was how big you were.
Yes. It made me very famous, but not with, the fortune was not much.
Uncle Mike, if you're to write an autobiography about your life, that's if you haven't done that already, what title would you give the book?
I think I've done a book.
Okay. We're getting a book from Uncle Mike Eagan, guys. He came far ahead of us. Came prepared. 40 after 11 right here on Y107.9 FM. Thank you. Okay, so I have an envelope and... Okay. It was addressed to Uncle Ken, by the way, but it's fine. Still family.
Because I thought he was the one going to interview me.
Oh, Uncle Ken. You guys should get Ken in here. Wow. The Emperor's Story. All right, so the book is there already. I think I touched on that in the beginning. Wow. This has all these experiences you shared with us.
Yes.
How long did it take you to put this together?
About 3 years.
3 years.
3.
3 years.
Yes. So
it definitely will be a good story. Do you still have connects to the BBC? Do they reach out to you once a while?
No, I did stringing for them for about 3 years and it stopped. I think the producers changed.
Wow. In your opinion, all right, what makes a leader a good leader in your field?
I have been saying that what Ghana is experiencing now and before now is the question of leadership. If you have read Lee Kuan Yew's story and the successful leaders, you could see that they had certain qualities that they use in winning people to support their ideas. But a leader must be someone who is ready and willing to listen to the other side of the story. A leader should be the one who has his own vision that he tries to sell to his people. A leader must come out of a group of people where the people believe and want to follow him. So for Ghana, we have leaders, but they lack the qualities that will make us. We don't handle our politics properly. Politics has become a tug of war. Politics has become me and you, we are enemies. I remember once I did a program with one of these language experts, and I was asking whether there's any word in Akan or any other Ghanaian language of opponent, not an enemy. And I still couldn't get it. Do you know of any word for instead of enemy, opponent?
Rival?
Rival is still harsher word.
Still harsher word, right?
Opponent is...
Opponent is we're competing for something.
Yes.
Yeah.
But rivalry...
is either yours or mine.
Yes.
I mean, mine against yours.
And enemy is even worse.
Yeah.
See, even for an election, we are killing one another to go and vote. I want you to be the president. Somebody else wants somebody else. That shouldn't lead us to killing ourselves.
That's true.
It's a matter of opinion. But we have divided the whole thing to be war instead of a peaceful exchange of ideas.
Very unfortunate. I pray we get by that, sometime soon. We're still growing. I mean, if we have people like you still around, constantly hammering on what people should look out for, I think it's a thought process. And as a country, we owe it to ourselves to constantly educate the upcoming ones, the young ones, to change. Because if the change is going to be applied, I mean, we should get to a point where it should spring from the young ones. But definitely they have to look up to us as well. And so what we do will hugely impact how they see leadership. And the thing that you just touched on, a while ago. On the side of radio, do you think radio and broadcasting has gotten better or worse, in your opinion? If it's gotten worse, what do you think our current dispensation should do to improve radio and broadcasting?
I wouldn't say it's gotten worse.
Okay.
It's gotten better, but it's limited still. There's still room for improvement. The Americans wanted to go to the moon. They went to the moon, brought a moon rock, and they are still exploring to find out what they can do when they go out of space. And that's what we should do too. We shouldn't give up. We shouldn't think we have achieved everything. Modern technology has enhanced broadcasting and its activities. In our days, if I wanted to interview Mary McCabe, I must find a way of getting somebody who knows her to tell me about her. Today you can press a button and everything would unfold before
Actually
you
see her
and talk to her.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. We have improved, but there's still room for improvement.
Okay.
I think in some stations are there for some reason that only they know best. That is not worth having a station. Some voices don't need to be given the opportunity to sit behind a microphone, but they are, because the owners of the station who have bought the instrument want them, or that's what they can afford.
That's what they want to drive at. Do you find anything exciting about radio these days, personally? With that asked, do you miss anything about the good old days on radio, your time?
I miss good interviews.
Okay.
Because I have always said that many of people who do the interviews don't do a proper homework. They just think that they're going to talk to Mr. K about something, and that's it. They don't even do a research as to what that something is all about.
Yeah.
I remember about 10 years ago, one of the radio stations invited me to their studios for an interview. When I got there, the guy going to interview me was asking me, what is your position in the party?
Wow.
And I walked away. Because you invited
He clearly didn't know who he was going to even deal with.
Was it a joke?
Well.
So you want me to come to your studio, you want to talk to me, and you have not even thought about what you're going to discuss. And I gave the same rap to Ken when he spoke to me, that hasn't he given me too short a notice to prepare for the program? The notice was short.
Yeah.
Wasn't it short?
It was. We apologize for that.
And again, whilst we were on an apology, I didn't know who was going to interview me.
You thought it was him.
Yes.
Ken, the envelope is yours. You can keep it. I'm keeping the book.
Do. I'll send you another one.
Sure. Wow.
So I think we are doing well. The only thing I don't like, or that doesn't please me, two issues. The vernacular stations. They read the news like they are having a comedy of laughter.
They act it out too much?
They act it out too much with proverbs and quotations that don't link up to the story.
Driving the attention from the story itself.
Yes. And I wonder why they allowed you to continue doing it. I think there's no radio policy, media policy on that. So you get a license and you can just get anybody who can sit down behind the microphone and make noise.
But back then there were regulations on that.
Yes. As I said, there was a time that we were not allowed to play any Western music on
yes.
radio.
Yes. 100% African and local content.
Yes. But it's not the same. So this is where we are lacking. But in terms of technology and competition is good if it's healthy. I brought some things to show you here.
Yes, I see a beautifully packaged something. I see medals in there.
Out of all the work that I've done, I'm happy that I've got things to show for it. This is the Grand Medal given to me in 1979.
Wow.
For my meritorious service in the media.
In the media. By the president?
Yes, this not the president. The head of state then.
Head of state then.
I think it was the Akufu's period, 79.
Beautiful.
And then this is...
Guys, if you're watching on Facebook, Y1079 FM, the box being opened contains medals for his meritorious service in broadcasting. And so he's just showing us that. We've seen one already. There's another one. Which one is that, Uncle Mike?
This is the Order of the Volta. I think I've got a bigger one here.
You've got a bigger one.
YFM. Official frequency for the young and young at
What I
heart.
wanted to say is that I was given Order of the Volta in 2008
Okay.
for my services in society. And I think I'm yet to get someone to challenge that statement that that I was the first person in the media to be given a grand medal.
Wow.
Or first broadcaster to be given there.
This clearly shows you've really put in your best in the service. Okay, that's the bigger one.
This is the bigger one. The Order of the Volta.
Order of the Volta.
So my hard work has been rewarded.
It's paid off.
Paid off heavily.
Heavily. Uncle Mike, what are some of the things, I mean, we're wrapping up, what are some of the key things you think young broadcasters, young men and women in Ghana, the youth, people listening to you now, what should they pick from your life, even before they read The Emperor's Story from the Center of the World, the book, or even before they play back this interview that we've had? What are some of the things they should walk with, things that they should do, things that they should look out for in life as young men and women, if they want to excel in their fields just like you've done with broadcasting?
I think this is what has guided me in my life. Honesty, modesty, respect, and self-discipline. And it shouldn't allow little fame to blow your head to pieces. Modesty is very, very, very important. But it's not everybody who can control power. That's why they say power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely.
But if you want to be successful in life, if you want to be respected in life, then it is better for you to be modest and humility. Don't allow power and fame
Get into your head.
And it's not easy. You go out, like the story I told about the little girl.
Yes.
Gets into your head, and you think you are somebody so important that you tend to disregard and disobey certain rules and regulations. But you must learn to always place the other person ahead of you.
That's true.
Let the other person's worries be your worry. Let humility rule. And don't allow fame to make you feel bloated.
Wow. Thank you so much, Uncle Mike Eagan. And on behalf of YFM Global Media Alliance, thank you so much for the book. We're going to keep it, and we look forward to the other copy coming through. Guys, I think you should get it as well. If you're watching us on Facebook, that's it. Written by Mike Eagan, his life story, The Emperor's Story from the Center of the World. And we have one of the copies right here with us. The book has a beautiful picture of Mike Eagan in his young days at BBC. Such a very beautiful picture. I can just imagine the euphoria, in this picture at that point.
My wife will tell you about it.
We'll tell you about it, right? Thank you so much. Uncle Mike, do you have a particular interest in music played now, artists, songs? You have a favorite by any chance?
I would say Konimo.
Okay.
He is so Konimo. His music is authentic. His music is indigenous. But the current artists who are the most famous ones, like I don't want to mention names. They're more rebels.
Okay.
Than musicians, and they are allowing fame and fortune to rule their heads. So that's my little contribution
for them. All right. Uncle Mike, where do we get the book? Is it out on sale yet?
Yes. Where did I even put my?
Your diary?
You can get it. You can get it from University Bookshop.
Okay. At the University of Ghana?
University of Ghana. You can get it from EPP.
Okay, EPP Books.
Bookshop.
Okay. And
you can get it from, I have a list here.
Okay. Mike, okay, so we'll get the list. I think we'll get the list later, and then in the course of the show after you leave, I will just put it out for people to know. But in the meantime, they can go to the university bookshop, EPP Books and Stationery, and of course maybe Google it out. When they check online, they will see places to find it.
Yes,
it's online. And my final words to our listeners. Anybody you'd like to say hi to? Thank you to.
Wow, you caught me flat-footed now. I like to say hi to my family and friends.
Okay.
Without, the list is tall, so I just put
don't
it
want to leave any name out.
Yeah.
All right.
So, as they say, all protocols observed.
So that's music by Eja Konimo in the back. You love this particular one?
Yes.
Have you met him? Did you get the opportunity of interviewing him?
I interviewed him on BBC. I interviewed him in Ghana. I did a show with him in Ghana on Ghana TV.
Wow.
When I was doing the Mike Eagan series. And then he visited London whilst I was there, and I got him to the studio and we played his music and talked about his life story.
Wow.
Very interesting character.
Are we getting you back anytime soon? I know you dropped the microphone, but are you at any point inspired to get back to broadcasting, maybe have your own show back again? Is it a conversation open for consideration?
No. At my tender age of 85, what can I do again?
A lot.
It's good to hang up your boots.
At some point.
Why is the hooray is loud?
Wow. Thank you so much, Uncle Mike, for coming through and inspiring Wiley the Board series. I must say, this has been a very special one indeed, because it's broadcasting. This is our field, and so the team out here definitely picked more. I know that we picked more than even our listeners. So God bless you so much. Our doors are always open. Whenever there's an opportunity for you to come back, we would welcome you with open arms.
I'm happy.
All right.
But one thing we didn't do, I still don't know your name.
My name is Rev Eskin. Eskin, I'm white.
Nobody told me that. We never met.
Yes.
I was just brought into the studio, and that's it. You know me, but I don't know you.
Yes, exactly. But we'll catch up after the show. We'll definitely do that.
Okay, if you buy a bottle of beer.
I will. I can buy a crate. Oh, my days. Beautiful one, guys.
Congratulations, you found the one station that plays Ghana's best urban music.
YFM.
Listen to YFM 107.9 Accra, 102.5 Kumasi, and 97.9 in Takoradi.